What's up? Yep, here I am. Have a seat. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy this video. This is going to be one of my hobby videos that I decided to do. Uh, it's part of my past, part of my life. Uh, and so, actually, this is a redo. Snap. I started on doing this was before. This is about my dog grooming. When I had my dog grooming business and how I got into dog grooming and all that. And then I got off track onto another topic. It was related, but I decided to just do a separate video on that part, on that. So I'm going to try to stick with just the dog grooming. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. How it all started is lived in a small town in southeastern Indiana. And, I had, married got hitched up to my fourth husband. And we built a house, and I helped with all that. I might do a separate video on that. That was trippy. But anyway, I was going through the local newspaper, and I come across this ad for miniature schnauzer puppies for sale that these people had. And we had a cat. It was my daughter's cat, and my youngest daughter, Robin. And so anyway, I said, oh, I'm curious about that. I think we should go look at that. So got my girls, put them in the car. They were like young teens, and so we went over. I called them. We went over there, take a look at them. And there was like three puppies. I think it was two males and maybe a female that they had left. And so we sat down, and we had puppies just jumping all over us, just loving on us, and all that. Just they were so cute. And I never had that kind of dog before. I've had lots of dogs in my life, but never that type. And so I told the girl, I said, well, let's pick one. So I let them go ahead and pick, because I liked both the males, and so they both liked this little chubby one. One was the chubby one, and the other was a little more slender. And so that's the one we picked, or they picked. So we started leaving, and this little puppy just started yelling and crying and carrying on something fierce. I mean, and I'm like, whoa, And I said, I think I have a feeling we should have got that other one. So I stopped the guard, turned it around, and we went back. And then we swapped it for the other one. Now, he was great going home. He wasn't crying and carrying on and hooping and hollering and fussing. So anyway, we get home, and I let him out in the yard. We had 6 acres, and we had this big barn down at the end of the house. And anyway, when my husband got home from work that day, he was not a happy camper at all. I mean, he was like, what have you done? I said, oh, look at this little puppy, isn't he cute? anyway, I said, you know, he's going to be your little house dog. And he said, no, I don't think so. You know. So I think he built this little, like doghouse thing for him. And, we had some fencing, so, put a fence around it and everything to put him in. And I didn't want him to keep him outside. I wanted him to be a house dog. And I can't remember exactly. Seems like to me it was, I don't know, the weather got bad. It started raining or something, and I went outside and stayed out there with the puppy. And, giving him love and all that, and, trying to comfort him, and, because I knew he was missing his family, poor little thing. And, so anyway, I decided I'm going to take him in the house. I'm not going to stay out there in the rain, and I'm not going to have this puppy out here in the rain, the bad weather, and, out here all by himself. So I took him in the house. And, well, we kind of got into a little hassle about it. And I said, well, well, just for now, And so anyway, the puppy, like, quickly won him over. I mean, we were sitting there on the couch, and the puppy went over, jumped up on him, and, did his little puppy thing, and just, charmed him. And then he said, well, okay, it can stay in as long as it behaves, and all that. So I said, oh, okay, he'll be good. And, he was house trained and everything. So, anyway, he got to liking that puppy so much that whenever we go someplace, the puppy got to go with us. I mean, I was kind of surprised. But, so that worked out good. But anyway, the puppy, as he got bigger, they have to be groomed. It's one of those breeds that you got to groom them. So and I had gotten my mother-in-law. She lived next door on her 80-acre farm. So I got her a little Cocker Spaniel. And then when he started getting big and his hair started growing, he needed to be groomed. So anyway, I ended up buying, grooming supplies. And so I started grooming. I got this book on how to groom. It had pictures and directions and, how to do it and all this stuff. And this is before, I didn't have no computers or nothing like that to, look it up. And so it had every breed in it and everything. I mean, it was a good-sized book. And so I, learned how to do it. And I did her dog. And then she told a friend who had a poodle, and her friend called me and wanted me to groom her dog, so I did that. And then the word started spreading. People started telling other people about, me doing grooming, So when I got up, like, I had 7 or 8, 9, clients that were, calling me on a regular basis to, groom their dogs. And I was doing it in the house. I didn't have, I told my boss, I said, I can't keep doing this in the house. So anyway, we took a part of the pole barn. That's what it's called. It's all, metal. It's big. It was big as our house. I mean, but anyway, so we took one end of it, and I designed it, how I wanted it, and then I helped build it, and so it had a kennel section in the back. Up front, the front room was the grooming room, with the tub and the grooming table and all that. And so, you know, before I know it, I'm working, at least 5, 6 days a week, doing at least 2 to 3 dogs a day. And I mean, it just took off. And so, anyway, I decided, you know, I wanted to, breed, have puppies, you know. And so, anyway, I found this little uh, salt and pepper, female was the first one I got. And she had papers, and he told me all about her line, and the champions that were in her line and all this stuff. She had good genes, and I didn't know nothing about any of that stuff at the time. So I bought her and took her home, and her name was Koki. Now, Koki was a really neat dog. I mean, she was so smart. I mean, she was like psychic. I mean, we could understand each other. And she knew, I mean, sometimes it was like she knew what I was thinking and everything. Uh, but anyway, and then I think I got a book on, dog breeding and stuff like that. And so I started reading up on it, and actually you need, a couple female, because so you can, if you keep a puppy or whatever, and you breed to that line, and so on and so forth. So I got this little black and silver one, and I named her Punky. And so, and she had a good line. Uh, she came from her background. She had lots of champions that wasn't very distant. That was close enough to where she had some good genes. So both of them had potential. And so somehow I got hooked up with the um, it was southeastern Ohio, uh, and it wasn't that close to the border. I was where the three states met, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. So anyway, I'd travel over there once a month to, the dog club, and I learned a lot more, about grooming, hanging out with them, and about, doing breeding. And so anyway, Casey didn't, par up to being, the good stud dog. He got too big. He was just, he just didn't have the quality, because I was, on a journey to, start doing dog shows and breeding, puppies for dog shows. So anyway, I learned a lot more, about, grooming, and stuff like that. So anyway, I don't want to get back, onto that topic. I want to stay with the grooming. So anyway, once I started having, well, I had to get Casey fixed so that he couldn't, breed. Uh, I got him neutered. So, but anyway, something tragic happened to him. I mean, he got he took off one day after a deer, and there was no calling him back. I mean, he was like, and there was this big field, open field across the road from our drive, and he just disappeared into the distance, and he didn't come back until late that night. And I kept calling him and calling him. I don't know how far he, chased after that deer, but he got himself lost, no doubt. And so finally he, was able to find his way back close enough to hearing distance. He could hear me calling, and I was calling him. And I could see him in the distance in the moonlight, just jumping, hopping, because grass was, and that field was kind of tall, because they would cut it for hay and stuff. So, here he came. And about the time he got close to the road, here came this car, and I could hear this car coming, and I thought, oh no. And he just continued toward me, and this car was, and he was going too fast, hit him and killed him immediately. And I bawled my eyes out for a month. But anyway, we buried him in the yard under the shade tree, and I put flowers on his grave all the time. And there was these flowers, that they would grow real good. You could just stick them on, lay them on the ground. They'd start growing flowers. I don't know how that happened, but anyway, then these flowers started growing there. But anyway, it was a sad time. But anyway, the started having puppies, and I had a litter for sale. And there was this local guy in town. He had this like small radio station. It was local, and I don't know, it was like a half hour long or an hour long, and he did this show. And so he came. He wanted to get one of my puppies one time, and he told me about his show and all about himself, and I think he was doing some kind of like hypnotherapy and some other kind of psychological therapies and stuff, and I think that's what he talked about on the show. But anyway, we made a deal that he could have a puppy in trade for advertising. So he made up this ad, and advertising my dog grooming shop, which my man, it exploded. New people was calling me every week, and then I'd have to do this schedule, and I'd usually the ones that had to be groomed, every 6 to 8 weeks, they had to come back, and get groomed again. So I had steady, people, who had, poodles and this breed and that breed. And there was some, I had this, lady who had a collie. And it took me 2 days to groom just that one dog. Well, she got charged for it because she had neglected the grooming, and it just got like really out of shape. I had have her bring back 2 days in a row, and because the brushing out and a big collie, the bathing and the drying. This took 2 days. And because I worked by myself, I didn't have any associates that was helpers or anything for that. And then one time I had, there was a couple of times that people brought their dogs in. There was this Cocker Spaniel. It was pitiful. They kept this dog chained up, to its, dog house. And that was the most neglected dog I'd ever seen. It had fleas so bad and ticks, but the matting on it was so thick. It took me 2 days to work on that dog, but it had to stay overnight. It stayed overnight, and because I had to do it in stages. I had to get as much of the hair off as I could. I mean, it was like shearing a sheep. It was, and the fleas and the ticks I was running into, and it was grossing me out. And I had, spray it down to, because the fleas were just going everywhere, and I hate fleas. I used to spray my yard and, put that uh, flea stuff, on my dogs to keep, because they didn't like fleas either. I mean, they'd scratch like crazy, and I didn't want fleas in my house because fleas like me. I had the right blood type or something. So anyway, I did a lot of times. I did a lot of teaching to some of my clients about the flea problems, and how to get rid of the fleas. And I mean, I had some that would come in so bad the fleas would be just crawling all over them. And I got to where I told them, I said, look, I'm going to tell you how to get rid of this. Get rid of them in your house, in your yard, off your dog. And if you can't do that, then I'm not going to be able to keep doing your dog, because you're bringing fleas onto my property, and I work hard to keep the fleas off of my property. And so I had a few clients like that, and then I had a few clients that just didn't take good care of their dogs. Some people, their dog had dietary issues, skin issues, or allergies and stuff like that, and I'd recommend a certain kind of dog food that was good for that. That helped. That really, and then. And I would carry lines of certain products and stuff that people would need that they could buy from me. And so and then I had this one lady. She had this beautiful black cocker spaniel, and she insisted, it had to be groomed like a show dog, like the ones that you see in the show ring. I mean, that was an all-day job doing that dog, because it had beautiful, real thick hair, and it looked like a show dog. I mean, and when it left the shop, it had to look top notch, and it always did. And I'd put little bows on them, and the males I'd put a ribbon around their neck and stuff, and the little girls I put little ribbons on their like the little poodles in their hair and stuff. And they'd smell so good and look so beautiful whenever they'd leave the shop. And I was so proud of my work. Uh, so, but it was good times. And then the puppies, delivering the puppies and stuff, staying up all night, helping the mamas, have their little babies. And there was a couple times I, had to bring a couple puppies to life, because they'd be born, stillborn. And, you had to do the CPR and hold them upside down and try to, get, stuff out of their mouth. And you had to use a suction thing to, clear the throat and to blow into the mouth. So, and if you did it right, you could get them going. And I did that. Had to do that a couple times. But anyway, and my girls would help me. Like when with the puppy litters, which they enjoyed that. We all did. Holding the little babies and getting them used to humans and all that stuff. And and then they would help, like clean up you know, the dog mess, that would come with puppies, when they were down in the kennel, learn how to, because the area was only so big, it wasn't big, so it had to be cleaned every once in a while, pick up the poop. And so they would do that, and they'd help out, help out with the puppies and stuff like that. So I would always, give them a puppy, out of the litter, and and then they could take that money and spend it on Christmas or buy themselves something or whatever. So you know, and the females, I'd only breed them like once a year. I mean, I didn't breed them every time they came in season. Just and so each female didn't have a whole lot of you know litters. But one time Cokie and Punky had the litters close together, like just a couple days apart. And Punky had this big litter. She had, I don't know if it was, might have been like her second litter. And so she had like 6 puppies. And she just, after, after about a week or so was having, I could tell was having trouble, feeding them all. Whereas Cokie only had 1 puppy. And so I took, a couple of um, puppies and handed them over to Cokie. And Cokie just took them right in, took good care of them, and Punky didn't mind. And because the 2 dogs were good friends, and they went well. It worked out fine. Let's see if I can think of anything else. But anyway, then. But that's how previously, I had gotten, you know, before I had started having, puppies and litters and stuff. I had joined that miniature schnauzer dog club, and started learning about shows. But that's going to be on another video. That was part of the same hobby. But it all like went together, and in fact, a lot of the dog show people had also had grooming businesses, and so you have to do. Did you ever watch them dog shows? Like the Westminster dog shows that comes on every year. I think it's like in February usually. But the show behind the scenes and the groomers, grooming their dogs and all that stuff and getting them ready to show. And yeah, I did all that stuff. It was so much fun. It was. And I had a really, huge, passion, for it. And I studied genetics and I studied the lines. But I'll get into that in, another, the next video. We're coming up on, getting close to 30 minutes. So I can't think of anything else right now that, for this video. But anyway, that's how I got started in my dog grooming business. It just kind of happened on its own. Just off from just getting this one little puppy named Casey. And he's in heaven, or I'm sure he's watching over me. And he was my little squirrel chaser too. He used to love to go out. He'd see a squirrel out through the window, man. He would head out there, and the squirrel would run up the tree, and he'd just he was so funny. But anyway, love you guys. Thanks for hanging in there. I hope you got something out of this video, or just enjoyed it. Hope it was entertaining. That's my job. I want to help, not only help my subscribers and my viewers and everything, but also to entertain and and maybe share a little knowledge, or little wisdom or a little advice or whatever. And so I hope you hang with me. And I got some other videos coming up. I'm getting ready. I got it ready to go with the aquarium that I'm redoing. because I had a copyright on one, and then there was a few that I had copyright problems with, and I ended up deleting them, taking them down. I wish I hadn't done that. I didn't know you could, there was something you could do about that, but I know now. But so anyway, I'm getting ready to redo the aquarium, and I got Neo, my AI guy, who makes my thumbnails, to create my thumbnail for that. So I got that ready to go, and so just keep watching. You never know what. Well, I got other hobbies and stuff too, because I don't know. It seems like I've had a real long life. I just, you know, have done a lot. I didn't realize it until I started thinking about it. Uh, but we're off on 30-some minutes. Okay, I've said enough, and thank you for hanging in there, and I love you all, and keep watching and doing comments, and oh, did you notice the paintings behind me? Different. Yeah, I swapped them out. I thought maybe you're just getting tired. I know I was getting tired of looking at those ones in the background there all the time. I know I'm going to switch them. So I moved some paintings around, and let's see. This is one I did. I really like that one, and I had one time I got kicked out of an art show because they said it had nudity. Well, anyway, we'll get into that hobby too, and I'll talk about it sometime. Okay, y'all take care, and peace. Take care. Be good and be kind, and respect others' boundaries, and love you. So, see you later. Bye. Subscribe and like. Thank you. Thanks for watching.